Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. This is our final Lunch and Learn in a series that's been going on for about 11 weeks now. So we've covered a multitude of topics. Oh my gosh, everything from sugar to immune health and so many more. So there is all the recordings are housed, and you can contact me at any point in time to get any of those recordings. But for those of you who may not have tuned in before or not, I have not had the opportunity to meet. My name is Andrea Bond. I have been the primary host of this series. I'm a wellness educator with the Juice Plus Company, as well as a certified life and health coach. And I have been on my own personal health journey for nearly 20 years. That is really and truly the driving force behind why I share as I do on a regular basis. You see, I have a family history of Parkinson's disease. My grandmother had Parkinson's and my mother had Parkinson's and actually still does. She's had it for about 35 years now. And I had a neurologist many years back tell me I was next in line. And so hearing that kind of frightening information was the catalyst for me to begin into digging into prevention. And so I was introduced to the Juice Plus company. I began learning and being educated along with wanting to raise my three kids as healthy as possible. They're all grown adults, exceptionally healthy, and a healthy grandson as well. And so I have found over the years that education is instrumental in making better choices. You know, sometimes with our hectic lifestyles, it's not easy to make the best food choices, but when we have the why behind them, it equips us and it empowers us. And so that is always my goal, is as in my story, for people to learn that they are not simply the victims of genetics, but you control the narrative. 70% of illness and disease is diet and lifestyle. And so for our final wellness or lunch and learn event, I should say, I thought we would dive into some of those common myths. There's a lot of misunderstanding in the world of nutrition, and it comes from a lot of different sources. And so first, let's just jump into why. Why is it confusing? It is a very confusing space. I always hear people say that, is that, well, gosh, eating healthy is so confusing. I really don't know what to believe. Well, first and foremost, I think social media is a huge driving force behind that. We have influencers, we have a culture that thrives on confusion. Everybody kind of wants to be seen as the expert, if you will. And that's why it is so important that we do our own due diligence. And of course, when it comes to marketing, we actually did that segment in label reading, Lunch and Learn a few weeks back. But quick fixes and fear-based claims, they get attention, bottom line, and they ultimately get us to purchase. It's like marketing, swaying us in a different direction. And finally, the truth of the matter is, I think the biggest culprit is there's a hidden agenda behind the information that we are told, if you will. And so today we're going to go over five of the most common myths, and we're going to start with what I think is probably the newest trend. I think that's safe to say. I have been hearing for, gosh, probably the last 6 months or so at least, that seed oils are bad and should be avoided. So let's look at the flip side of that statement. The reality is seed oils, right, like canola oil, like sunflower oil, are not harmful. It's really more about processed foods. And you're going to hear that as a running theme throughout today's presentation. It's really more about what's done to things than their natural state. And just like anything, moderation is key. There's no reason to eliminate them. In fact, there's actually quite a bit of research proving benefit to them. So, cold pressed seed oils are a great source of unsaturated fats, which are healthy fats, which can lower cholesterol levels and improve heart health. And even some of those seed oils, in particular, like flaxseed oil and sunflower oil, contain really valuable antioxidants that can protect against oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. And we've covered those in previous lunch and learns, but really detrimental components. Our bodies are aging. Oxidative stress is just that rusting of our bodies, if we will. And so seed oils in that case can prevent some of that and be very protective. But you have to think about the flip side of this. Do you know, if you really dig into this hidden agenda, if you will, that the common phrase, if you will, is butter is better. That's the message that's being sent over seed oils. Well, let's think about who's going to benefit from that. The dairy industry, maybe. Um, just something to consider what agenda could be attached because, I always say there's three sides to every story, and the third one is the truth. So, we have to decipher for ourselves. And so the second myth that we'll cover is soy is unsafe. And this one, wow. This one is just, it's mind-boggling to me how it's gotten this life of its own. And again, quite interestingly, it has been documented that this became a predominant message in our culture when soy milk came onto the market and began to taking away share from the dairy industry again. So the better thing to think of is, be your own nutrition detective, if you will, and do your research. Research, I should say. Soy foods are actually an excellent source of plant-based protein. I consume that on a regular basis, and truly, some of the most healthy cultures do. And there's a lot of different plant-based proteins, but what's so incredible about soy protein is it is a complete protein, meaning it's a perfect protein. It contains all nine essential amino acids, which your body can't make. So it's going to be very beneficial when being consumed. It's also lower in that saturated fat, right? The saturated fats are going to increase things like those bad cholesterol levels. And it's also higher in fiber. And we know that as a society, we do not eat a fiber-rich diet. Soy in particular also can help the intensity and frequency of hot flashes. It's almost like the society, the myths are saying the opposite, but the phytoestrogens in soy are very, very protective, and even so much so that they've been proven to help prevent some cancers. And heart health is a huge component of eating more soy. And as I said, some of the populations that thrive the most are eating soy on a regular basis. The Asian culture, and gosh, I wish I could remember the name of that documentary. I think it's Live to 100. It's on Netflix, but they talk about this. They go into some of the blue zones where centenarians or the populations that have the highest predominance of individuals 1,000, oh Lord, I don't want to live that long, but 100 years plus, and they are consuming soy regularly in their diets. So, you know, to kind of sum this one up, there are some people that are allergic to soy. I completely understand that, but that doesn't mean we should all avoid it. That would be like saying we know that there is a population that's allergic to peanut butter, but do we all not eat peanut butter because of that? It's about digging into the facts, and the facts and the research present over and over. It's resounding that soy is safe and an essential part of a healthy diet. Okay, the third myth is carbs are bad. This one just kind of, I hear it so often. I hear people say, oh, avoid carbs. Oh, I don't eat carbs. Oh, carbs make me fat. This is so far from the truth because just as we touched on a little bit ago, it's the type of carbs, it's what's being done. So, carbs are actually an essential macronutrient in the body. They are a source of energy and they are fuel for brain health. Oh my gosh. And, isn't it interesting as we consider that more people avoid carbs and we look at the brain health issues we have on the rise, like dementia and Alzheimer's, and those interestingly are very linked to gut health as well. So again, it's not about avoiding carbs, it's about refined carbs or simple carbs. That's the standard American diet. And if you look at this image, you see it. The bad carbs, right? The simple carbs. They are everything we can see and think of as processed. The good carbs are natural whole foods. And so they are not going to make you fat. They're going to, in fact, provide valuable nutrients that are going to help with gut health and heart health and weight management and all those good things. So it's crazy and it is a myth to generalize that carbs are bad, but to instead focus on what type of carbs are you consuming. Okay, the fourth one is a little less predominant, I would say, but there is a large segment of the population that has bought into the concept of juice cleanses. And I am not going to say that a juice cleanse doesn't have some health benefits, but more importantly, it's important to address that it's not necessary, right? And in fact, when we go into a place where we are only drinking juices, that's what they typically involve, a 3, 5, 7 day period of time where we're only drinking juices, which have tremendous detoxifying component to them. Um, but we're literally keeping other vital nutrients out of our body. So we're starving our body of other nutrients when our body, in fact, has a natural detox system. That is what our liver and our kidneys and our skin, right? Sweating things out, lungs, all those things are part of our natural detox system. And so when you're eating a healthy diet, predominantly fruits and vegetables, right? Plant-based, which is going to provide a good source of fiber, and you're focusing on your hydration, everything's going to work as it's supposed to. In fact, fruits and vegetables are a daily detox approach. So choosing to do a juice cleanse in and of itself, I won't say that that is a totally negative thing, but it's not necessary. And more importantly, it's not a long-term solution if you're just doing that cleanse and then going back to that standard American diet that we just kind of looked at in that bad carbs list, right? You can never out cleanse or cleanse away a poor diet. So the overarching theme here is again, just eat a healthier diet on a regular basis and let your body do what it was naturally designed to do. Okay, the fifth and final myth we'll touch on is any supplementation is fine, right? I can, whatever, why do let's consider first and foremost, why do we take supplements or vitamins? It's because we're recognizing deficiencies in our diet. And there's no doubt we eat 80%, in fact, of what we consume today didn't even exist 100 years ago. We eat a very highly processed diet in general as society. And so we grab supplements off the shelf to compensate for that. And that's not a bad thing because we do need help, right? If we can do something to bridge the gap, that's phenomenal. But the truth is, we have no idea what's in these supplements for the most part. And the best example I can give to you, and this really was why I was so grateful, I am so grateful that I was introduced to Juice Plus years ago, because this is where I began to learn. I, for instance, was raising my kids on Flintstone vitamins, was taking my own multivitamin, glucosamine, calcium, right? I'm a long distance runner. And yet, interestingly, I'd end up with stress fractures. I was constantly getting sick. I had achy joints. So you would think if those vitamins were effective, those things wouldn't be happening. And then in the most general terms, if vitamins were the solution, then wouldn't we be getting healthier as a society? Because gosh, we definitely have an abundance of them on the market. It's literally, I want to say 40 plus thousand different nutritional supplements. So what I love and what I learned about was quite eye-opening to me. Oprah, through her O magazine, did a study in partnership with Consumer Labs a number of years ago. And she gave 230 supplements to Consumer Labs and asked them to test them. And the main thing she wanted to test for was what the product says on the label. Does it match what's actually in the ingredients of the product itself? And so they broke down those products. They looked at the ingredient list, and of those 230, only seven matched. I'm very grateful that Juice Plus, now I wasn't taking it at that point in time when this article was released, but that being said, my mind was blown. I was thinking, here I am taking this vitamin on blind faith. And what was more shocking is the 223 that did not pass because there is no regulation in this industry, which is quite frightening. There are ways to have products certified to show that they're safe and pure, but most supplement companies don't spend the extra money to do so. They're going to assume that they're going to get you on that marketing and those, myths that exist, and you're going to grab that product wherever you're at, a place of convenience, and you're going to take it. For instance, I remember one of the most shocking for me as a young mom at the time was gummy vites. They're children's gummy vitamins. I know Costco sold them years ago. Don't know if they still do, but they had traces of lead in them. So here again, no parent is choosing to buy those gummy vites to harm their child. And yet that's exactly what's being done. And there's a lot of research proving that vitamins can actually, in many cases, accelerate illness and disease because they're synthetically made. They aren't natural to our body. Our body doesn't recognize them. It's actually why they're megadose. So, for instance, 500 milligrams of vitamin C, our body doesn't absorb 500 milligrams. The product hopes maybe it will absorb 2 or 3, but a few milligrams of vitamin C in an orange, in partnership with all the other nutrients in that orange, that's when we get results. And not only that, our body recognizes it because it's food and what we were designed to flourish on. And so, just real quickly, if you aren't familiar with Juice Plus, I highly encourage you to dig deep, to ask the person who shared this information with you to reach out to me personally and seriously consider getting this into your diet because, as you see there, it is 30 different whole foods, fruits, vegetables, and berries. And they've put it in a convenient capsule, chewable, or drink mix, superfood drink mix form. And so it becomes a way to bridge the gap on a food first focus. The reality is I looked at this, and when I certainly saw it years ago, after we had, I'd been raising my family in that vitamin world, and yet here we were frequent flyers to the pediatrician's office. Daughters had tubes in their ears. Flu was a usual thing in our house every winter. And so here I'm doing something, thinking I'm being proactive and protecting my family, but we're not really any healthier. And so when I saw this, I thought, wait a minute, I can put all that food into their body because I knew the reality was I wasn't going to serve that to my family on a daily basis. Eating healthy produce can often be expensive, and yet for under $3 a day, you can consume 30 fruits, vegetables, and berries, and they have a program where a child can get a free supply for every adult. That got me. And I thought, what if? And we started 19 years ago, and we have thrived for 19 years with good health, without sick doctor visits, with no need for medications and all that good stuff. And this is our story. Juice Plus never makes claims to treat any illness or disease. But here's the important part, and what I encourage you to dig into no matter what you're consuming if you are choosing to supplement. Research. First and foremost, there needs to be research on a product. That is when you know it's effective. And my basic mind at the time that I was introduced was like, well, wait a minute, I'm over here spending money on the multivitamins and the glucosamine and the calcium. I don't know anything about what's really in them. I don't know if they're effective, or if they're just passing through my body. And am I just wasting my money? And so I saw this research on Juice Plus. There are currently 48 published studies. I saw it as a guarantee that things would work, right? That we would get these health results, and we have. And so that is a huge component of what you choose to put in your body. And then I mentioned certification. There is NSF certification on the Juice Plus product line. It's an independent organization that is coming in and testing exactly what Oprah was studying. Is what's in the product the same thing as what's on the label? And so I love that. You see the nutrition facts label here because that shows you it is food, it is not synthetic product. And so it has just served our family so well. I would highly encourage you to take a look. And I'm just going to wrap it up there because, really it's about becoming educated and being empowered with the best choices for your family. So that QR code, if you are interested in checking out the Juice Plus product line, that will link you to that on my website. Or again, if somebody shared this information with you, go back and ask them all the questions you have. But I hope if this is your first Lunch and Learn in our series that you got value out of it. And more importantly, if you've listened into others, that you found this a worthwhile investment of your time. And most importantly to me, that you have picked up health tips and encouragement and feel empowered to make better choices to serve not only your health today, but your health for the days to come. That's what it's all about. Health span is what I'm striving for. It's not about living the longest by any means. It's about living the healthiest in the years that we're given. So thank you again for tuning in. This has been a fun series that I hope has blessed many, and we'll see you on the flip side.